at its height was a failure. Because most of us did not come out of that movement learning to love our natural hair. We loved buying product. We loved getting gift bags. We loved going to natural hair events. We loved the sort of experience of camaraderie, of kinship that the natural hair movement created. But very few of us came into that movement truly loving our natural.
And very few of us have come out of said movement or are still in said movement, because this movement is still going. And very few of us have come out of said movement actually knowing and caring about and loving our hair. Let's talk about why. And the first thing to acknowledge is actually this video, this creator. What they said, everything is correct. There's not one thing that I disagree with. But one thing that I have to point out is that the main thing that came out of natural hair community is a preference to listen to individuals like that person, individuals who are light-skinned, individuals who are closer in proximity to whiteness, individuals who, even if you just look quickly at their thumbnail, clearly have very long hair, clearly meet this kind of ultimate vision for what a lot of us, especially a lot of us who are more darker skinned, believe that natural hair should be. And when we talk about hair, when we talk about whether it be natural hair, whether it be the cosmetology world, whether it be professional salon world, whether it be white hair, like you run down the list. But when we are actually talking about hair, the prototype or the standard for hair within the industry and even within us as consumers, or myself as a licensed cosmetologist, the standard for hair is white women, is white femmes, right? And that has been the standard for a long time. Even if it makes you uncomfortable, subconsciously and by default, by the nature of the country that we live in, that is the precedence. The white femme, in her purity, in her fragility, in her she's the ultimate reaches of femininity, so to speak, if we really want to think about it. That is what the white femme represents. So when we talk about cosmetology programs, even when we talk about natural hair movement, even when we talk about curly hair or textured hair, the standard and the preference for curly or textured hair is white curly and textured hair. It is the hair that is looser. It is the Tracy Ellis Ross hair, right? It is the more mixed race hair. It is the Lisa Bonet. It is that kind of hair that we seek to attain, even subconsciously, even if we're saying like, no, I love my hair, I love my black hair, we still have to recognize the way that this impacts us, because this has been happening from generation to generation. So these behaviors, we have been watching these hair behaviors to the point that they have become second nature, to the point that we don't even realize, if we're not pausing with intention, that the preference in our brain automatically goes to this vision of white hair, of long, silky, flowing, not kinky hair. So if you think about that standard, and then you think about the natural hair movement, and how those two things kind of coincide and work together, what that means is that the natural hair movement kind of came when it first started, and it was this big push for specifically Black folks to love their hair exactly how it grows out of their scalp, because we have been discriminated for our hair. There have been rules and laws placed on the books because of our hair. We have been harmed in schools, in the military, you run down the list. So this movement initially was really founded around our freedom, was founded around us getting free and understanding and loving our hair as it grows out of our scalp. But if the standard for our hair, if the standard for most of our time growing up, with our grandmothers, our big mothers, anyone, folks, ancestors, folks that we came from, not just femme-defining folks, but if what we have known for so long has still been always placing blackness, the standard of blackness, what blackness is, has always been placed in comparison to whiteness, right? So that means if that is what we have known, that means that internally there is still a lot of sometimes subconscious, beneath the surface work that has to be done so that we can actually move to a place of loving our bodies and knowing our bodies and understanding our bodies, and not just, oh, well, it's a natural hair movement and I'm going to do this because this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, that intention is well, but what happened as a result of a lot of folks thinking like, natural hair, yes, I should love my hair the way that it comes out of my scalp. What happened as a result of that is that a lot of folks got tossed into shock. We got tossed into what I like to say is like hair PTSD, because we did not realize how much what we had been consuming and seeing in the media, seeing in beauty magazines, entertainment, music videos, what we didn't realize is that what we were seeing, and what we were being sold was that the way that our bodies were and the way that we naturally are, the way that our hair naturally comes out of our scalps was not the standard. It was not okay. It was disgusting. It was gross. It was ew. Meanwhile, other practices that were close to European standards of beauty, we all thrived and been in those practices. It's the reason why relaxers, and again, I'm not shaming relaxers, but it's the reason why relaxers, weaves, lace fronts are seated where they are right now at the very front of Black hair culture and Black hair education. There's a reason. If that was the standard, then it means it's going to take much more time in practice and in ritual for us to really come to know our bodies and to love our bodies. Because the name of the game, the moment that we were brought to this country as enslaved persons, the name of the game for white folks, their agenda was always to remove us from ourselves. It was to make us believe that God, Christianity, that religion, that God knew better than we knew ourselves, that the white man, our master, knew better than we knew ourselves. All of these sorts of things. That is the message that was sent to our genes and genetics. That is the behavior that we are still fighting and pushing up against today. It did not just disappear because civil rights happened or because it's 2022 and not 1892. So again, the movement happened, and as the movement happened, industry, the beauty industry, cosmetology industry, hair industry woke up. And they didn't wake up because they care about Black bodies. They didn't wake up because they want to actually learn and actually create this space in the industry that really has not existed to a certain extent. And yes, it has existed. We have had our Bronner brothers. We have had those sorts of entities. But all of those entities are still focused around changing Black hair, around making Black hair more like white hair in order for us to thrive and survive. They woke up because of coin. They woke up because even though Black hair has not been seen as craft, we have always been the folks purchasing the most of beauty supplies, of creams and lotions and things for our hair and things for our bodies. We are the ones who have pushed that industry and allowed it to thrive in the way that it thrives right now. And it thrives really giving us the bare minimum. The products that we have been given, the products that we have seen, the products that we have all grown up with, Murray's, Blue Magic, Design Essentials, you can run down the list. We have been given actually really the bare minimum. Meanwhile, white hair world, white hair craft has been developing and continuing to develop and innovate and thrive, but only around white hair. And hear me when I say this, Black hair is the standard. What you learn in hair school is how to apply all of these different hair techniques, texturizing techniques. So all I spent my time doing in cosmetology school was learning how to make white hair more like Black hair. All I learned was how to make white hair do what Black hair does naturally. So if Black hair was actually the foundation, and it should have always been the foundation, of beauty services, of hair crafts, of cosmetology, we would all in the beauty industry be thriving in a much different way than we are today. But that was not the name of the game, because again, slavery, because again, black folks are subhuman, because again, white folks know better for us than we know for ourselves. So natural hair movement happened, and we didn't come into community with one another and have conversations about how much we really don't know ourselves, about how much we really don't trust our bodies, about how much we would rather not think about it and let someone do whatever to our hair, even if they're damaging it, because the weight of bearing the burden of getting to know myself, of returning to a place of knowing myself as a black person when I have been running this race for so long, when I have been consumed, when I haven't realized how much slavery, how much this thing that we like to say is so far away is really impacting my day to day. So when we haven't stopped to do any of those things, to talk to one another, to say, yeah, I love this natural hair movement thing, but you know what? I'm really used to looking at myself through the eyes of whiteness. I'm really used to looking at myself and preening and making myself beautiful and doing these different rituals around my body, my hair, my skin. I'm used to doing these rituals through the lens of whiteness. I do not know how to look through the lens of blackness, of loving this skin tone, of loving how kinky my texture is, of understanding how my body works based around the science of all bodies, not just me maneuvering from a place of constantly having my body being pushed to the fringes, because that is what has been happening with black hair, and it is still happening to a certain, and it is still happening, which means we were also processing that, which means subconsciously we were also seeing that. So again, because the name of the game is distraction, that is the name of the game. That is the name of capitalism. That is the name of American culture, of patriarchy, is to keep them distracted. Is if I can keep you distracted, if I can keep you consuming, if I can keep you being a product junkie, then I am keeping you from knowing yourself, and from actually understanding the science of hair, actually understanding how it works, actually understanding how we have had 400 years to hate ourselves and to hate blackness exactly how it is. But if I do not understand those things, and I'm not going to take the time to make this practice, because it has to be a practice, which means it takes time. But we didn't take time. We were excited, and then we allowed ourselves to be consumed by the distraction, to be consumed by the distraction of products, which still to this day, y'all are struggling and suffering with products because you don't understand that understanding what products work best for you means you have to know yourself, means you have to know your body, means you have to know your hair. You have to know what you're feeling. You have to understand what's happening when I shampoo my hair, when I don't shampoo my hair, when I use conditioner, when I don't use conditioner, when I get a trim, when I don't get a consistent trim, when I'm taking my time. No, wash day shouldn't be a whole day, but now wash day, we're making it into something that's just fast. It's got to be quick. So you're still not spending intentional time with your body, getting to know it and understand it, so then you can take that knowledge with understanding the science of actual hair, and now you can apply that to whatever it is that you need for said body. But again, distraction. Y'all get caught up with Tracee Ellis Ross, who appropriates black hair and doesn't have hair like any of you all would ever want. You would not want Tracee Ellis Ross's hair. But because she appropriates black hair, because she cosplays in black hair and wears all these pieces and different things, now we see a hair care line drop, and instead of pausing and thinking, I don't ever really even see Tracee Ellis Ross's real hair, so how can this hair care line do something for me when I'm not even seeing her hair? Instead of doing that, we're obsessed with the person. So now I'm distracted again, and I bought yet another product. Taraji, same thing. Doesn't know anything and is very confused about what they actually need for their hair to thrive. But because we're excited about the movement and we're excited about this performance of getting to know ourselves instead of recognizing it has to be a practice and that it's going to take time, we're caught up in all of this. Now we're caught up in, well, I think I know my hair, so now I'm going to get on YouTube and I'm going to tell everybody else what I know, and that has to be the law of the land. And then that happens more and more and more because, again, it's a distraction. Again, instead of me pausing and not thinking, okay, I don't need to go and teach other Black folks. And the best way for me to teach other Black folks and for other Black folks to know that this is a practice of caring and knowing and understanding my body when I have not known it for however many hundreds of years, my ancestors have not known it for however many hundreds of years. Instead of knowing that it's a practice, we don't do that. It becomes a competition. It becomes oh, well, now it's texturism. Well, I have better curls than you have. So now you're watching YouTube video after YouTube video and you're not realizing that you want to actually be this person. You don't want to actually learn and know about your hair and be as passionate about this person on YouTube about their hair so that you can be as passionate as they are. That's not what you're doing. Now you're upset. Now you're lusting after. Now, why isn't this? Fuck this natural hair movement. This isn't for me. Because my hair doesn't do that. My hair doesn't look like white girl hair when it's curly. It doesn't look like wet and wavy when I get my curly weave. That's not what my hair looks like. Because again, you don't want to know you. You just want to be closer in proximity to whiteness, which means I'll be safer. I'll be protected. People will care about me. People will think I'm beautiful. All of these sorts of things. And that's not true. We know that's not true because at the end of the day, you're still Black. Which means in the eyes of whiteness, you're still subhuman. We started a movement and then became obsessed with the everything except for the things that you actually need to make said movement powerful, to make said movement now a foundation and a core and a cornerstone of Black community, of Black beauty, of all those sorts of things. But we didn't do that. And we still are not doing that because now, instead of understanding what healthy hair looks like, now we're obsessed with texture. Now all I can do is wash and goes. So now we're not even walking around and playing and understanding all of the many ways that Black hair defies gravity and the many different sorts of styles that you can do once you understand how to properly moisturize, care. Again, science of hair, the foundation. We won't do that because now if you have natural hair, you're only valid or you're only okay if it's a wash and go and it's so texturized and you can maintain your texture for 7 days. Unrealistic standards, not reality at all. But again, lived in hair, soft hair, there are literally folks out here fussing about frizz, literally saying that you should not have frizz when frizz is actually a natural part of having textured hair. Yes, now there are things we can be aware of around moisture, around am I using the proper amount of product? Is my hair getting to 100% dry on wash day? There are a bunch of things we can look at if we feel like the hair is unnecessarily frizzy, but frizz is not a bad thing and it's a part of textured hair. You have folks out here spreading misinformation or folks thinking that they're better because their hair is natural, and that has nothing to do with anything. Because you can also have relaxed hair and have healthy hair and be taking care of yourself. But again, because of whiteness and because whiteness has been the standard, we have allowed them to tell us the rules. It's the reason why we don't even know how to do relaxers properly. Should be getting relaxers quarterly. And the goal of a relaxer is not to make your hair bone straight so that it then falls out. But again, if you're not going to pause and look at that, going in and doing 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch touch-ups, that's not how a relaxer works. Can't do it. Relaxer's supposed to be on within 15 to 20 minutes. But because the name of the game was that white folks wanted to be able to tell us and to have us trust without even thinking about it. We don't even think about it. We don't even think about it. Because we believe that they know what's right. Because that was the name of the game. That was why we were enslaved persons. That was why we have seen the war on drugs. That is why we have seen slavery. The chains, the physical chains have gone away. But now we have seen system after system that is meant to keep us down. Because again, the belief is, and we've had 400 years of being told this, we're still being told that white is right. And anything else doesn't matter. And while the natural hair community started with the goal of it being about our community, with it being about Black folks, with us having a movement of us understanding and moving to a place of understanding our bodies, it was quickly co-opted, taken by the masses, and then moved to a place of distraction. So now natural hair movement, Black hair care, Black natural hair, textured hair, those sorts of things, now that whole movement, it's now rooted and focused and has been taken over by white beauty standards and beyond. Because if we are to actually have a movement, then the first step of that movement is knowing yourself and knowing yourself well. Having the patience and care to know yourself well. Not the frustration to be like, well, natural hair, it's not for me. I'm not. That is the beginning of the movement, is when we all come to a place of recognizing that our bodies are worth it for us first, that I'm going to put the care into this first, because when I put the care into this first, everyone else around me is going to get it. My hairstylist is going to get it. I'll be able to communicate to my peers. They're going to get it. So recognize natural hair movement still has the ability to be exactly what it's supposed to be, but we have to go to the root, admit the truth, and then move every day in practice to change and redefine Black hair outside of the lens of whiteness.